Let's have a look at the movement mechanics and myofascial interplay in sit back and curl up. So it starts with core stabilization. The pelvis, the spine are centered, and then there's a sit back. So still core stability in focus. The upper body can be upright, which is very loaded on the quadriceps muscles. I can do a posterior pelvic tilt from here, segmental articulation of the spine, and then lift back up into a high kneeling position. But yeah, it is quite strong on the quadriceps. If I lean forward with the upper body, so we call this an active forward fold, less loaded on the quadriceps muscles, and the spine extensors are now a lot more engaged to stabilize the spine against gravity. And then, of course, there is any angle in between. The more forward I go, the more the spine extensors have to work, and the quadriceps muscles are probably a little bit less loaded because I'm distributing weight to the back and to the front. So here, exactly the same, posterior pelvic tilt, segmental articulation of the spine, then moving toward knee extension, lifting back up into a centered high kneeling position. So the degree of forward fold can be adjusted. Ideally, the movement can be performed smoothly in any of the positions, but I would definitely start at the easiest. The more load there is on the quadriceps, say if I sit back like this, quadriceps is really quite loaded here. It can be very, very hard to tilt the pelvis back because the load is really high. Glide might be a little bit inhibited, and it's a lot harder on the knees for many people. So then the forward fold certainly would be easier on the knees and for the glide. Now, as in the interplay of the muscles and of course also their fascia, especially if you lean forward, you have spine extensor muscles in charge, hip extensors, quadriceps. And then tilting the pelvis back, spine extensors lengthen, abdominal muscles engage fully. And then as you come back up, you want to find balance between the two. If I'm relating this to anatomy trends, it's basically from the knees upwards, superficial back line in movement focus in the upper body, hamstrings also, of course, across the back of the hip there, quadriceps of the superficial front line is engaged. Then the abdominal muscles take over, so rectus abdominis of the superficial front line strongly engaged, and then the superficial front line and back line find balance again. If I'm now looking to the superficial front line only, there is also an interplay. It's between the upper and the lower track. So sit back, especially with forward fold, the rectus abdominis should be very, very quiet, really not much happening. Sternocleidomastoid shouldn't be much happening. Quadriceps quite a bit happening, of course, especially across the knee. But as for the rectus femoris, across the hip joint, not much happening here. The tissue gets a bit soft. At least the fascial tissue should soften a little bit. And then you engage the rectus abdominis, and to whatever degree the rectus abdominis contracts concentrically, the rectus femoris needs to lengthen. So the rectus femoris slid up right now over the underlying basti. This is what I envision anyway, and this is what it feels like. And then as the knees move toward extension, so quadriceps muscles engage, then there's this slight glide down. So I have the lower portion of the superficial front line quadriceps portion engaged on the way down, eccentrically across the knee. Then the rectus abdominis comes into play, concentrically, lengthens the rectus femoris, then all of the quadriceps muscles engage, and I'm coming back up, the rectus abdominis gradually relaxes. And during all of this, the tibialis anterior should be just in a relaxed, lengthened position. So it's an absolutely fantastic exercise to promote glide, to create strength and glide within the superficial front line in collaboration with the superficial back line. What is important to get the glide is rhythm. So this is another thing that's really important here. Sitting back slowly, and then the curling up is actually a little bit more fluid than what I have just done. I just did it very slowly to give you as many teaching points as I could give you, but if you make it really slow, it becomes very muscle driven. So the rolling up needs to be fluid as the fascia within the quadriceps and between the tendons of the hip flexors should be and will be if you practice this movement.